Check, audio check, sound check, audio check, sound check. Speakers.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Check.
Evening to all of you. This is Param here. We are now ready to start. We welcome you to the demo session on the BW4HANA version 2.0. This training program is for the BW consultant with the experience on the SAP Business Warehouse. The training will be for Monday to Friday, a weekday batch, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For your questions during this session, you can use the chat box. There is a chat box to type in your questions. Okay, let me send you a text. All right. If you're connected from the telephone line, you can also unmute your telephone lines with the unmute PIN code sent to you over the mail. And for participants connected on the mobile phones and computers, you can also unmute yourself anytime for any clarifications during this demo session. We will be opening for questions after 15 minutes of a quick drive through the slide and a quick access to the training environment. We have participants as follows: Bharat Reddy, Prasad Kumar, Raghu R, Ramakrishna, Sumir Ahmed, and participants on the telephone lines. The recording of this demo session will be available later after the session from the service provider, techetraining.com. Okay. So we are getting ready to start the session. A quick introduction about myself. Okay, not able to hear any audio. So let's check audio check.
Audio check. All right, please make sure that your computer or your phone's speakers are working fine if you're using a headset. Check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, check. Okay, so I'll start with a quick introduction about myself. My name is Param. My full name is Tangjam Paramananda. I'm SAP HANA certified and SAP BW4HANA certified, with an experience of 15 years in the SAP consulting domain, and started with the training about 9 years ago with the SAP education. and working with various SAP HANA related technologies since the inception of the SAP HANA from 2011 with the SAP Labs in Bangalore, SAP Labs in Germany, and working with various SAP large-scale customers worldwide. The training is my passion, and I continue to share my experience as a consultant, as an architect, across different industry domains in the SAP HANA, SAP BW4HANA, SAP S4HANA from the technical as well as techno-functional perspective, from the migration to the landscaping to the replication to the various other data modeling capabilities within the BW, and today within the HANA database data modeling, which is rendered over to the BW4HANA, and also the data modeling capabilities of the new SAP S4HANA. With the help of the core data services, the CDS views, we're able to design, customize, and allow those views to be available on the SAP Fiori Launchpad, apart from the SAP existing business objects reporting tools. In this training, we have our academic documentation for the certification on the BW4HANA version 2.0. I'll be sharing various insights on the BW4HANA from the certification standpoint. Today, the relaxation from the SAP for the year 2020 is that it is not mandatory or not compulsory to be already BW certified in order to go for the BW4HANA certification for the Delta. So we recommend all participants to go for the certification after completion of this training program. From the training and certification standpoint, we will be referring the certification materials from the SAP. And let me change over the slides to the next. And this is the list of the certification documents. BW462, I'm sure you're already aware of the BW on HANA and the BW4HANA documentation. We will be working with this document from our practical exercises in this training program. The BW410 provides the new data warehousing concept by leveraging the existing functionalities of the BW framework of data modeling. 405 on the query design. All the query design elements are still intact, except the BEX query designer is replaced into the new query designer of the BW modeling perspective in Eclipse or in the HANA Studio, or even in the web IDE interfaces. The 430 BW430 provides the BW4HANA modeling capabilities with a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach, which implies the inter-modeling capabilities between the BW application server and the HANA underlying database, because HANA database also have got data models which can be consumed and rendered by the BW info providers, and the BW info providers, after they are activated, can generate HANA views, calculation views in the underlying HANA database, and that can be encapsulated with other external non-SAP data models which HANA has replicated for various unification process. And this concept is fairly new in the B4HANA environment. As a part of the hybrid modeling, we will learn in 430. The 465 talks about the authorization of the BW with the authorization of the HANA and how we can interrelate the authorization privileges, authorization objects between the existing BW layer. We're talking about the analysis authorizations and the analytic privilege of the HANA. There are 5 different categories of authorizations in the HANA database Out of the 5 types of authorization categories, we will learn how system privilege, object privilege, analytic privilege, package privilege, and the application privilege will interwork with the BW application today on the 4th generation BW. So this is the comprehensive list of documentation and the same documentation for the certification on BW4HANA version 2 Delta. All these documents and these study materials will be provided along with the various other additional documentations like SAP notes, BW4HANA simplification list, and the best practices of the BW4HANA documentations, along with the certification question dump, which we have collected in this year, 2020, and those questions will also be available together for a download from the service provider. All right, so let's go into the training environment. I'm going to change over to the remote desktop connectivity, and we'll be able to connect to a remote computer, which is our local training system. And this training environment is a local training environment, which we will work in terms of the practice, in terms of various other exercises. Okay. All right, so if you've got any questions, feel free to ask your questions right now before we log into the system regarding your certification prep, or you can also introduce yourself if you're already a BW consultant, which is good. If you're not a BW consultant, this training is not related for you because you have to be a BW consultant to know about the B4HANA, the Delta changes, in terms of the various new features that we require. Okay. Okay, so let's go for quick questions first. I think already you had some audio issues. If you still continue to have audio issues, you can use the chat box. Okay, you're not a BW consultant, but you're learning. Okay, good. Well, the advantage point for all of us is in terms of how the new concept of the BW4HANA will help the business from the business data warehousing standpoint. And also we will come to know about the SAP HANA capabilities in terms of the new data modeling features that the BW can leverage. Okay. For Bharat Reddy, you're still learning the BW. Okay. Well, this is still okay, but it is good that you also need to do your research, your learning along with this training, because this training is going to give you at the top of the enterprise architecture, because where all the reporting and business users, information consumers will acquire various reporting for historical data, for operational data, for the real-time data from the BW, for large enterprises. And that is why you require to also read and continue your learning of the BW Business Warehouse along with this training to be able to get a comprehensive experience out of this training program. For the next two participants, Samira Ahmed, since you do not have the background of the BW, all right, so, well, it is recommended as the same recommendation or same advice to but already is that for Samira Ahmed, you also need to start your learning of the BW, all right, because BW has been there for quite some time. And what the BW generally used to offer was the classic reporting, right? Because whenever there was a transaction performed, the BW needs to acquire those transactional data at the end of the business and then get the data set available. So let me give you an example with the diagrammatic representation of how the process flow takes place in a business environment, in an SAP business environment. Okay, so I'm going to the drawing board, the blackboard over here, and I'm going to give you a small example about a day-to-day business. Okay, so a day-to-day business will run the application for certain business module, like, for example, a sales business module. Right? In the SAP application server, the ECC. This is the SAP ERP application system, and where different transactional users will post transactions. So if you are a store manager or a store executive in a retail store, for example, okay, and customer has placed an order, and against the order, you need to make sure that your customer masters are entered in the application system. The products that the customer wants to purchase is available with you in your inventory, and various customer attributes like customer phone number, name, number, etc. are along the transactions are already there in your application. So you update the sales information in the ERP. This is what used to happen in an existing ecosystem. Now, the application will update the transaction into an underlying database, okay? So this is within only the sales, but you also got different other business domains apart from the sales. You have finance, you have production, right? We've got inventory management, okay? Then you've got quality management. We have purchase department. You got HR department and various other dimensions. So over a period of time, the amount of data which you write into the ERP system that gets stored into the database is going to increase. Right? This is a known factor. So over a period of time, the data which gets stored into the database from these applications are increasing because of the increasing number of customers, increasing number of products, increasing number of the business partners, trading partners, increasing number of the employees, increasing number of the processes, machinery. So the amount of data increases over a period of time. However, the performance still remains the same, because from the performance standpoint, the performance is decided by the speed of the application and primarily the speed of the database. And all these databases are powered with a spinning disk. All right, the spinning disk. So it's just like when you start your desktop in the olden days when we were all back in the college. When you are in the school days, you've got the desktop with the big box of CPU. When you start the computer, the desktop, you feel certain vibrations from the CPU box, and that's because there's a spinning disk in the hard disk drive. All right, the spinning disks is a older generation technology which has been still in use even today by some of the business. but it is not a future scalable because the RPM, rotations per minute, of these spinning disks are fixed. So for example, a 1 terabyte of hard disk drive, it spins about a maximum of 8,000 rotations per minute. Some providers give you about 10,000 or 11,000 rotations per minute. It's a fixed number. It's a mechanical restriction of these spinning disks. RPMs cannot be increased beyond that fixed number. But the business volume of data, complexity of the business is increasing beyond the need beyond the restriction of these RPMs. So there's always a need for speed for a business. All right. So if you're a customer, you're doing an online purchase, and you enter your products and you submit your shopping cart, and there's an OTP, but you expect the OTP to arrive instantaneously when you update the phone number, for example. You cannot wait for about 30 minutes for the OTP to arrive and come on your phones. So business today needs real-time infrastructure. But that's where SAP HANA comes into the rescue of those businesses which need the speed of transactions on the real time. So existing applications continue to work, but the spinning disk-based hard disk drives, okay, these spinning disks are replaced by the new solid-state disk. Okay, solid-state disk. It's not a spinning disk. It's not a spinning disk, and it has got a RAM-based in-memory component, and the application is connected on top for read and write. This is the whole process of the migration. Okay, so existing application, whether we are working with any SAP application, ECC, CRM, SRM, PLM, supply chain, BW, and others, are migrated over the new HANA database, which has a solid-state disk, it's got a RAM, a supercomputing CPU processor, and they're scalable for stacking up and connecting for scale-out approach. So because HANA provides real-time data computation, compilation for application systems that are connected on top. Okay, so that's a brief history. So for all the SAP transactional applications, the data is moved over to the BW for storing historical data over a period of time. And from the BW, we create reports. So BW is the business warehousing. It's where all the data from the raw data SAP is cleansed into information. So from data, there is a conversion of and the storage of these raw data into information in the business warehouse. And from the business warehouse, we do the reporting. Reporting is also possible from these SAP applications for instant reports. It's also possible here. But over a period of time within the ISO, International Standard Organization, we need to also make the data available in our warehouse for data storage, archival, right? And it's also good practice because you do not want to overload the SAP application which you're running for a day-to-day business with data from the last 10 years. All right, we don't need the last 10 years data. So we shifted over to the business warehouse. That's where the need of the BW arises for large enterprises. What these large enterprises also do is that once the data is available in the business warehouse, they make the data patterns, understand the trend, and we can do the planning of the data sets with the data coming in from different modules. For example, sales planning. So we can understand the pattern of the last 5 years, customer purchase, sales, and we can forecast with different planning functions about the prospective customers and do budgeting for sales planning, the demand planning, the various other components of the finance planning, production planning from the BW. Okay, so that's where the need of the BW has arrived. Now the BW, over a period of time, again, the BW was connected with those spinning disk hard disk drive. So BW used to acquire data from SAP, and it used to store the data to the underlying spinning disk. Now, over a period of time, the BW has also started to grow exponentially with the large data sets for large enterprises. So BW also need a BW acceleration process because the amount of data is quite humongous in the BW in terms of the data which is extracted only from the SAP, but also from other non-SAP legacy systems and different other modules of the finance department, the production, the purchase, the manufacturing component, the HR, right? So all of the data is posted into the business warehouse, and over a period of time, the business data warehouse also started to become slower and slower because of the humongous data stored over here. So the BW also requires to get the underlying database replaced into SAP HANA database because HANA is a real-time, and this is the in-memory database, real-time data, and the BW is connected over here with the BW on the HANA. So once you got a BW on the HANA database, the need for having a real-time BW is achieved. So we can expect real-time data in the BW as soon as the data is posted from the source of the BW. We can have real-time reports coming from the BW, real-time planning coming out of the BW, all right, because it is powered by the real-time HANA database. This is the concise overview about the HANA database. We will learn as we proceed in the upcoming session about the advantages of the HANA database. It's not only the BW, but any SAP application, whichever is connected on the HANA is accelerated by the HANA database. And therefore, the storage of big data, the computation and compilation of large-scale complex data across different type of sources is now available in the BW from the real-time HANA database. And not only this, you've got emerging data sources. Today, we talk about artificial intelligence, AI. We are looking into IoT. We have connected devices. We got cloud. We got different other telematics. We got machinery log files. We got big data, Hadoop, MongoDB, etc. All of these are emerging data sources, which can all be stored, processed by the HANA, and then make it available for various other information users from the BW and other applications, which is powered by the HANA database, which means that the HANA is future ready. And for all those applications which SAP has already in the portfolio, is now connected onto the HANA to accelerate those SAP applications like ECC, CRM, SRM, PLM, supply chain management, GRC, MDM, MDG, and of course, BW. Okay, now from the BW on HANA, which was with the release of HANA in 2011, HANA was available for customers from the SAP. And in 2012, the BW was on the HANA. I'm going to write here in short HDB to represent HANA database. So once the BW was on the HANA in 2012, in the following year, 2013, the ECC system, this is the SAP ERP system, was on HANA. Okay, all the acceleration was possible of the ECC module from the HANA. 2014, the following year, SAP decided to take one part of the ECC, that's the finance module only, accelerate on the HANA database. It was an experimental project, and that's called Simplified Finance. It was successful, and a lot of customers really liked the idea of having a unified finance accelerated on the HANA in 2014. Then later part of 2014, the remaining part of the ECC, like logistics, sales, material management, purchase, production, quality management, project systems, cross applications, human capital management, all of those were mounted on the HANA to make the ECC not only accelerated, but also make the ECC simplified. And that's called simplified finance, simple finance, simplified logistics. It was a terminology back in 2014. So with this particular experiment in 2014, SAP was able to realize the fact that we can not only accelerate our SAP applications, but we can also make the existing applications cleaner, leaner in design, simple in processing. Okay, and that's when in 2015 we got the new S4 HANA. Okay, S4 HANA. The S4 HANA here simplifies various other SAP Business Suite applications.
Hello.
Yep, go on.
I have one question. Like, just can you repeat like what happened in 2014?
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So in 2014, SAP picked up FICO module, the finance component, and made the ECC not only faster, but FICO to be more simplified. So in finance, we got different parts of finance, for example, finance account payables, account receivables, controlling, profitability analysis, cash management, treasury management, asset accounting. Right? So these are various modules of the finance, house bank accounts. And it was a complex design from the classic ERP standpoint. It was accelerated, but the design was still the classic design of the data model, design of the business processes. So it all gets encapsulated in one particular table called accounting document table. So one table can run the entire FICO. Here we had about 153 tables altogether. So from 153 tables, we worked with only one primary table. Of course, there are also other master data tables associated with it. But the line items of all the journal entries of the FI was posted in one accounting document table. So 153 tables to one table. That's the simplification process. So SAP tried to simplify the design, not only have the acceleration of the processes, but also make the processes much more leaner in design. So from finance, they picked up the entire, and they were able to, because they already have a real-time HANA database. So when you already have real-time they decided to make the data models much more simplified. So finance posted in one table. So we don't have to look for hundreds of other tables. You can look only in one table. You have the entire data in one table. That's the simplification in finance. There's similar in logistics module. So simplification process, not only the acceleration, but also the simplification was achieved in 2014.
So there was simplification in logistics also and simplification in finance also. Both sides it was done.
Yeah, finance is one example. Simplification in logistics. So in logistics, you got sales, distribution, material management with the purchase, with the production planning, cross applications. We got different other components of the HR. So all of those are simplified in the 2014.
Okay, then this S4 HANA, it was released after that. Is that so?
After, yes. So this was a interim test within the SAP with some of the SAP customers. It was tested, it was proven within those customers. And the following year, 2015, the S4 HANA with these new simplifications were released with the new generation SAP, 4th generation. So SAP 4th generation powered by HANA is the S4 HANA in 2015.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Amar, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Very good, very good.
Like you said something about project systems also.
Yes. So all the components of the SAP ERP. So within project systems also there are certain simplification, not only the acceleration, integrating with the solution manager, connecting with the SAP Activate component, which is a new service from the S4 HANA for the project systems, incorporating the agile project management and other existing component of the SDLC waterfall model, and the accelerated SAP within the SAP ecosystem was also connected with the SAP Activate. So this was also one of the new add-on functionality for the PS project systems.
So how this affected migration? Migration now it became faster, I think. From 2015, has it picked up or has it slowed down?
You mean the data migration?
Yes. System migration.
System migration. Okay. System migration is a one-time activity in the life cycle of the SAP. So migration is based upon
data migration also, because database will be
right. So data migration is real time. So you have got different migration strategies, only data migration followed by application migration and other technical like the DB files and operating system migration. So today migration can be completed within a period of 3 days to a maximum of 3 weeks, which also not only brings the data migration, but the complete system migration. We have system cloning, all can be done within a period of 3 days to 3 weeks. So that's a real fast movement of or a new path to the new S4.
Okay.
Okay. So S4 is the SAP 4th generation on HANA database. It is only going to work on the HANA database. Not on Oracle, not on other DBs, but only powered by the HANA DB. This is in 2015. So you will find in 2015 S4 HANA 1503, 1511, these are the versions. 1503 implies the edition of March, 11 is the November edition. This was the first release of the S4 in 2015. Following year, 2016, 17, 18, 19, for each of these calendar years, we got different versions of the S4HANA. Likewise, the BW4HANA was also released in 2016, the BW fourth generation, powered by the HANA database. So for the BW4HANA, let's go over to the drawing board. So BW on HANA was available in 2012. In 2000, the BW on HANA was BW 7, so this was 7.3. This is 7.4. 2014, BW 7.5 on HANA. And 2015, the BW4HANA. So 2015 is the same year when S4HANA was released. So BW4HANA was also developed. At this point, HANA database became HANA database version 2. So here it's all version 1 of the HANA database. Now it became version 2 in 2015. Following year, 2016, BW4HANA, first release of the BW4HANA version 1 on HANA database 2.0 was officially released. And then 2017 onwards, various customer integration took place. And in 2018, BW4HANA version 2.0 was released on the HANA 2.0. This is what we're going to learn for the BW4HANA version 2.0. Of course, we'll understand the BW concept, and then we have the new BW4HANA version 2.0 starting 2018. And this is going on with different support packs until here today, 2020. So this is the part from the BW history in terms of the migration from the BW7 to 7.3. So 7.3 is the first version to be compatible for HANA. Then 7.4, 7.5, and then came in the BW4HANA on version 2 of the HANA database. And now we are on the BW4HANA 2 on HANA database version 2.0. So this is the latest, and it got different connectivity with S4HANA, connectivity with integration for the CDS of core data services of the S4, connecting with different HANA replicators like SLT, data services for smart data access for real time, okay? And of course, with the cloud connectivity for the BW customers, cloud connectivity of the S4HANA customers integrated. So this is a new paradigm shift for all the SAP installed base customers, because by the year 2025, SAP customers need to be on HANA database, because by 2025, the maintenance and the support of all the SAP classic applications will be stopped. Therefore, customers of SAP have to migrate onto the HANA database. Thereafter, move on to the S4 and for the BW customers to bring the BW on the HANA. So this is the mandatory path to the new fourth generation for SAP application, either S4 or the BW4 for BW customers to be on the HANA database. Okay, so let's come back to our slide. Right, so all the certification materials, training materials, we will be referring the standard SAP documentation. The standard SAP documentation are globally accepted documents, and they are authorized and approved by the SAP to provide the SAP training on the SAP modules. Okay, so let's have a look in one of these documents in terms of the SAP guideline from the training standpoint. Going over to the website of saptraining.com, and you will find SAP BW4HANA, the document BW462. So this document focuses on these following areas: understanding to get started from the scratch, okay, to understand the concept of SAP HANA. This is one of the questions from Raghu R. All right, so understanding SAP HANA. This will be the first part of our training. HANA architecture, understanding the HANA terminology. Then getting started with the BW4HANA, working with the modeling tools and how to navigate in the BW4HANA. We have a cockpit, which also help us to do the system administration related tasks of the BW in the cockpit. So cockpit is like a website. You go onto the website, there are different web-based panels which allow you to run certain administration. Then how do you move your existing BW onto the BW4HANA? We're talking about the migration process. So migration can be in place, conversion, or remote conversion. We will learn about these terminologies of the migration to the B4. After the migration, coming back into the HANA modeling, what does the SAP HANA modeling provide? What type of views, the modeling views, we call here as calculation views, and they are designed with different modeling capabilities of the native HANA database. Then what is the difference between the HANA version 1 and HANA version 2? Remember, we've seen just a quick info about the HANA version 1, version 2 with the release of the BW, right? So what are the difference we can find from HANA version 1, version 2? Because there could be certain customers who are already live on the HANA Classic version 1, and now they work with the HANA version 2. Because in HANA version 2, it's only calculation views. Then core modeling artifacts of the BW4HANA. Then we move up to the application. So in the BW4HANA, what are those objects that we require to work with? What are those objects that we require to define, understand, and be aware of the functionality of these technical objects of the business warehouse? Then hybrid modeling scenarios. So from application to the database, and from database to application. How do you run the business warehouse? What are the changes in the authorizations that we need to take care of? And different other tasks that are available. Lifecycle management. Then we've got the data provisioning. How do you bring data into the HANA database directly or into the BW? What are the different data replication tools that are available for extracting data? Maybe our business have acquired a new business entity, and there is a legacy system from where we want to acquire the data into the HANA or into the BW. We decide based upon the type of the data source, for which the tools have to be picked up. So we can either pick up the SLT, or we can work with the SDA, or we can work with the SDI, or we got different other provisioning based upon the extractors if your source is an SAP source. Or maybe integration with big data, Hadoop, and others. So these are the different tools that are available for data extraction. During the migration, even after the migration, our business may require different other legacy systems to be integrated. Therefore, we need to have our hands on these replicators. The relevance of S4 HANA to the BW and other optional topics we will learn over here in this document. Okay, this is the BW462. Then BW410, you can check this document as well. All right, BW410. This is for the BW4HANA data warehousing. So again, introduction about the architecture of the BW, how the modeling tools will work, what are the components which are the building blocks, working with the modeling, master data, transactional, data sources, transformation, data loading, hierarchies, composite providers, native modeling, and other views and other objects. These are in the BW410. Okay. Then authorizations, which is required, BW465. This is authorization. Again, authorization can be dealt with the technical department coming in from the SAP security authorizations. But if you are the only consultant in the project, we need to have the awareness about the authorizations of the BW. Okay, that's why the training includes the authorization. Authorization is for the basis or the administrators, but we need to know how the authorizations work. Right? We may not be working on authorizations on the real-time project, but we need to know how the BW authorizations are integrated today and from this document, right? So introduction, working with security components, standard authorization, special analysis, maintenance, and other areas of the authorizations as a general overview is required for the BW consultant. Right? So these are some of the documents for our training. And therefore, you can also look up in the SAP training website about the content of the document. You can download, for example, the course index is going to download a PDF file for you. And then you have all the internal topics about these documents, okay? So in this unit, BW4HANA, what is the lessons that we can learn? Evolution of the data layout of the HANA database, okay? So these are some of the topics within each unit. This is for our exploration. Okay, let's start to get your questions. Let me come back to the slide. Right, so all of these documents are available. The latest documents are available for your certification. After completing the course, you can also apply for certification. The reason why we recommend certification is because of higher demand and less supply of BW4HANA certified consultants. We may have BW consultants with experience, but not certified. And there is a higher demand for the certified BW4HANA version 2 consultants today in various project engagement. Because of the timeline, 2025, migration to HANA is compulsory. And for the BW, migration to the HANA with the upgradation to the 4th generation BW4HANA becomes a new path. Therefore, higher demand and lesser supply, we recommend all participants to go for the certification. Okay, and towards the end of our training, we will have a separate test. Okay, so there's a BW4HANA test for all of us so that we can test ourselves on the training, because the test is required so that we know how much we have learned from this particular training. Okay, so this is our BW test, and you will have the questions in the exact patterns of the certification. Okay, so this is the exact pattern of the certification. All these questions are multiple choice questions, MCQ based. And they've got the exact type of question pattern from the certification standpoint. Okay, so we'll be sharing these questions later in our last part of the training. Okay, so these are all the questions. And this is only 50 questions for the self-test, but you will have 200 questions which you can go through for certification preparation. All right, okay. And coming back to our contact slide, for additional queries regarding the documentation, server access, question bank, you can get in touch with the support staff. Question from Bharat Reddy, assignments during this module. Absolutely, yes. We got assignments. We got a data modeling assignment for our participants for online training. Yes, it is included.
Hi, Param.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, so for the BW4HANA certification, I mean, is this a only Delta certification, or so I have BW experience, but I'm not certified consultant, so so I have to go for BW first, then BW4HANA, or I can directly go for BW4HANA.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for this question from Rajendra, I think this is Rajendra, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the slide that gives you the certification list of the SAP HANA. Now, for the BW, you can directly go with the certification of the Delta E_BW4HANA 200. This is for Delta. Earlier, there was a mandatory rule that we must be already BW certified in 7.3, 7475. But this rule is taken off, which means that you can directly go for certification without any mandatory certification on the earlier versions of the BW. Only for this year, 2020.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a Delta. If you want to go for a complete certification, then C_BW4HANA is the complete. Here you'll have 80 questions, 3 hours. And here for the Delta, you only have 30 questions. You only have 30 questions over here. And it's not compulsory to be already BW certified.
So sorry, I got confused. So so for number 13, I don't have to be BW certified. Is this correct?
Correct.
For 12?
For the Delta.
So what about number 12?
Yeah, so this is the complete BW. Here also it's not compulsory to be already BW certified. This is the complete certification on BW4HANA, and this is only the Delta certification for BW4HANA. So the difference between these two is that C_ is the consultant certification. E underscore is the architect certification for Delta.
Okay.
So you can see here, specialist certification. So if you're already a BW consultant, go for specialist certification. If you're not a BW consultant, then you can go for consultant certification.
But I don't have the set. I mean, I am not SAP certified, but I have.
That's okay. It's okay. It's not mandatory to be SAP certified.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So earlier certifications on SAP modules or BW certification is not mandatory today for the year 2020. Early part of 2020, certification was compulsory, but now it has been relaxed. So take this opportunity that even if we are not already SAP certified, we can still take up the certification for consultant or for specialist.
Thank you.
Then question for, yeah, go on. All right. So question from Bharat Reddy, in what case, in my case, what would recommend? So for consultants who are not a BW consultant already, right, you can go for the C_BW4HANA. And for consultants who are already a BW consultant, you can go for number 13, which is the BW specialist certification. Okay, so these are the two certifications available on the BW for HANA. The one that is above here is the same thing. So I'm going to just strike it off here. So for our training, for consultants, C_, and for architects, E_BW4HANA. Okay, so we will guide through, no problem, no need to worry right now. We will guide through over the process of our training. Okay, and yeah, also for question from Bharavedi for graduate. Yeah, so you can start with the consultant certification. This is where we start working into the SAP environment, and we start as a application associate or associate consultant, and the certification is the consultant certification. So you can start with C_BW4HANA certification. Later with the experience, just like in the case of Rajendra, who have already BW experience, in the case of Rajendra, you can go for, Rajendra can go for specialist certification because you already have the experience. If you not have the experience already, start with the consultant certification after completing the course. All right, so I'll guide everyone through the whole process in this training program, you know already, and we are running this training for about 8 and 9 years now. So I'll guide you through how to prepare for certification. And during the session, we'll also take you in some of the important points which are common in the certification exam, right? I will highlight those areas which are frequent in the certification, okay? All right. And the reason why it is also important to go for certification is because of the fact that certifications help our customers to achieve a level of comfort while working with certified consultants, because SAP certification is a global certification, and it's one of the gateway to enter into large-scale projects, large customers. large consulting project engagements. And they only look for certified consultants. Once you're certified, you have a certification number. You will have an SAP ID that becomes your global identity as an SAP consultant or as an SAP architect. That's how you start your career advancement. Okay, certification helps into those career advancement. Very good. So you can get in touch with the service provider and in the emails given here or in the phone numbers given here, 201-478-8484. There's also an India number, 628-114-30303. Yeah. And Skype is TechAtraining. Our website is www.techatraining.com. You can also read the testimonials of our previous participants who are already certified in various trainings for our BW4HANA. Okay. Beginners, experienced consultants, project managers, solution architects, administrators. We all require to have our BW as well as the HANA experience, and certification helps us to reach there a lot faster. Okay, so it brings to the end of our demo session for tonight. We come back with the invitation, just like you have received today, an email with a link to connect to the GoToTraining, and you can connect from anywhere on your phone or your computer. The recording of the demo session will be available later in case if you missed out on certain areas. Yeah, you can request for the recording. And also in upcoming sessions, if you've got any other planned activities and you have a planned agenda, you're going to miss the session. So you can inform the tech support staff on these phone numbers. You can record the session for you, and they will send you the recording. And in the coming session, next follow-up session, you can ask questions. Yes, we got assignments for each one of us. It's a Monday through Friday. So over the weekend, you will have a small set of assignments which you need to work through, experience in the training environment, and complete those assignments. Also, go for research. Come back with questions. The more questions, the more clarification. Okay, this is for 3 weeks training. 3 weeks training. So get all those details from the service provider. All right. Any further questions, clarifications? Okay. So kindly utilize this time of the year to get trained and upskill your experience. And I would request each one of you to attend the training and get certified. It will help you. It has helped a lot of other previous consultants, not only from this training, because also worldwide certifications are very much important. And that's why we also focus on the certification after completion of this course. So look forward to connecting to each one of you again, whether you are a new consultant or you are a existing experienced consultant. It is going to help each one of us from this training with different type of profiles. As a beginner consultant, as an architect, as an administrator, or as a report writer, or maybe as a project manager. All right, each one of us will have the benefit from this training. Of course, I will be sending you different documents apart from the certification to help you reach there with your advancement. Thank you all. With this, we're going to close the session here tonight. We come back with our next session with the invitation from our training service provider, and we'll take it forward accordingly. Good night, and bye-bye for now.